All right, so you're getting ready for an electronics drafter interview.
That's great.
We're here to help you prep using all these great RoleCatcher resources.
Yeah, it's like having a cheat sheet for your interview.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. Why electronics drafting? What made you want to bring electronic designs to life?
It's really important to be genuine here. Interviewers can tell if you're just giving a canned response.
Absolutely.
Hmm.
So how would you answer something like, what inspired you to pursue a career as an electronics drafter?
Well, think about what first got you interested in electronics. Did you take things apart as a kid? Was there a gadget that fascinated you?
Oh yeah, I used to love taking apart old radios and stuff.
See? That's the kind of thing they're looking for. Real passion.
And I bet RoleCatcher has some good examples too, right?
They do. They suggest talking about problem solving. Like you could say, I've always loved figuring out how things work. Electronics was like a puzzle to me. And being able to use my design skills to create solutions really drew me to electronics drafting.
That's a great way to put it. It shows you're not just in it for the money.
Exactly.
What if you're just starting out, though, and don't have much work experience?
That's okay. You can still talk about relevant things. Did you join any clubs in school? Maybe a robotics club? Or design competitions?
Those are great points.
Even fixing electronics for friends and family shows initiative.
It's all about connecting the dots.
Right. Showing them you have the right mindset.
Okay, let's talk about something a little more technical. CAD software. They'll definitely ask about that. What's the best way to answer those questions?
Don't just list software names. Talk about what you've actually done with them.
So like specific projects you've worked on.
Yeah. What were the challenges? What went well? Did you have to troubleshoot anything?
So instead of saying, I'm proficient in AutoCAD, give them an example.
Exactly. Like if you used AutoCAD to design a circuit board, talk about using the software's features to create the layout the traces, and generate those Gerber files.
Gerber files. I haven't heard that term in a while.
They're basically the blueprints for the circuit board.
Right. What if you ran into a problem during the project, though? Should you mention that?
Absolutely. Talk about how you solved the problem. It shows you can think on your feet.
Makes sense. So let's say you ran into a design constraint or a software limitation. How would you explain that?
Briefly describe the problem, the steps you took to fix it, and what you learned from it.
So it's all about showing them you can learn from mistakes.
Right.
Okay, new question. How do you stay up to date in a field that's constantly changing?
Oh, that's a good one. You need to show them you're ahead of the curve.
How do you do that?
Be specific. What are your favorite resources? Do you follow any industry blogs or forums?
Good point. I personally love checking out industry forums and seeing what people are talking about.
Exactly. And are you part of any professional organizations like the American Design Drafting Association or IE?
Those are good ones to mention, for sure.
Have you taken any online courses or earned any certifications?
Certifications. RoleCatcher's Career Guide mentions those. It highlights the Certified Electronics Technician and Certified Electronics Drafter certifications.
Yeah, those can definitely boost your credibility and open doors for you.
For sure. What about networking? Is that important too?
Definitely. Talking to other people in the field can give you valuable insights and keep you informed about new trends.
So it's a combination of things. Reading articles, going to conferences, talking to people.
Yeah, you got to be proactive.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Now we need to talk about accuracy. This is a big one in electronics drafting.
Absolutely. One small mistake can have huge consequences.
So how would you answer a question like, how do you ensure the accuracy and quality of your designs?
You want to show them you're meticulous and detail-oriented.
What does that look like?
Well, you could talk about your quality control process.
Hmm?
Do you have a multi-step approach? Do you use any specific tools?
Can you give me an example?
Sure, you could say something like, I always start by carefully reviewing the design specifications.
That makes sense.
Then I use software tools like design rule checkers.
What are those?
They're basically built-in checks that can catch errors before manufacturing.
Oh, that's smart.
Then I visually inspect the design, looking closely at component placement and trace routing. Finally, I have a senior drafter review my work for a fresh perspective.
Wow, that's a very thorough process.
It's important to show them you take accuracy seriously.
What about specific software tools? Are there any worth mentioning?
Definitely. Mentioning things like simulation software or version control software shows, industry best practices.
Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we all make mistakes, even the best drafters. How do you approach a question like, describe a time when you had to troubleshoot a design issue?
It's all about showing them your problem-solving skills.
How do you do that?
Choose a challenging example and walk them through your process. How did you figure out what was wrong? What tools did you use to find the problem?
And most importantly, how did you fix it?
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get into the details.
Details are key here. What if you were working on a PCB design and noticed a problem during testing?
That's a good one. You could talk about using an oscilloscope to analyze the signals. Or maybe you had to adjust the trace routing or add some resistors.
Those are great examples.
And don't forget to mention what you learned from the experience.
Right. It shows you're always learning and improving.
It's all about continuous learning.
And speaking of learning, RoleCatcher's AI can really help you prep for your interview. It's like having a personal coach.
It is. It can analyze the job description and help you tailor your answers.
Wow, that's amazing. Tell me more about how it works.
Well, you input the job description and the interview questions into the platform.
Okay.
Then RoleCatcher's AI figures out what skills the employer is looking for and creates custom responses for you.
So it's not just giving me general advice, it's actually personalized.
Exactly. It's like having a resume writer, an interview coach, and a tech guru all in one.
That sounds incredibly helpful. It's like having a secret advantage.
It kind of is.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground today, but before we move on to some more specific questions, I want to ask you something. So electronics drafting, it's not a solo job.
Yeah.
We'll be working with all sorts of people.
Oh, yeah, you got to be a team player.
So how would you answer, how do you collaborate with other departments to ensure a project's success?
It's all about communication. Talk about how you communicate clearly and work effectively with engineers, production teams, maybe even clients.
What about specific methods? Like, do you prefer in-person meetings or video calls?
Yeah, mention those. And what about project management tools? Do you use any of those?
Sharing real examples always helps too.
Right, absolutely. Give them a specific situation where you had to collaborate with another team and how you made it work.
Like working with engineers to refine a design based on their feedback.
Exactly. Or maybe you caught a potential manufacturing issue early on and saved everyone a lot of headaches.
Those are great examples.
Oh.
Okay, let's talk deadlines. Everyone loves those.
Oh, yeah, deadlines.
So how do you handle this one? How do you approach a project with a tight deadline?
It's a chance to show off your time management skills. How do you stay organized and on track?
It's okay to admit that deadlines can be stressful,
Oh, yeah, for sure.
as long as you have strategies to deal with it.
Exactly. RoleCatcher suggests talking about things like taking breaks to clear your head or listening to music to stay focused.
That makes sense. It shows you can handle the pressure.
Yeah, you don't want to crack under pressure.
Okay, let's say you're going for a more senior role. They might ask about your PCB design experience.
Ah, yeah. You got to be ready for those in-depth questions.
So how would you answer? Describe your experience with PCB design.
Talk about your experience with different PCB design software, your understanding of industry standards, and your ability to tackle those complex multi-layer designs.
So it's not just about knowing the software.
Right, it's about showing them you can apply that knowledge to real projects.
What kind of details should you include?
Talk about challenging projects, like maybe you designed a PCB for a high-speed data acquisition system.
That sounds complex.
It was. You could talk about the challenges you faced and the choices you made to ensure signal integrity and manufacturability.
It's all about those specifics.
Right. And if you hit any roadblocks during the project, don't be afraid to mention them.
Good point. How you overcome obstacles is just as important as your successes.
Exactly. Maybe you had to find a creative way to route the traces or come up with a custom solution to meet a specific requirement.
Those are the things that make you stand out.
Yeah, you want to be memorable.
And this is where certifications like the IPC designer certification can really help.
Oh, yeah, certifications are great.
RoleCatcher's Career Guide talks about how they show your commitment to professional development.
And that you're keeping up with industry standards.
Absolutely. Okay, last question for this section. How do you mentor and train junior electronics drafters?
Ah, this one's all about leadership.
What's your teaching style? Do you prefer hands-on training or more formal presentations?
You know what makes a good mentor?
Someone who's patient and supportive. Someone who gives good feedback.
Yeah, and sets clear expectations.
How would you train someone on something complex like PCB design?
I'd break it down into smaller steps. Use visual aids. Give them real-world examples.
And make sure they know it's okay to ask questions.
Oh, yeah, definitely. No such thing as a dumb question.
It's all about fostering that learning environment.
Right.
Maybe even encourage them to get those certifications we talked about.
Exactly. Mentoring is about helping others succeed.
So we've really gone through a lot of these interview questions.
We have. It's been a good workout.
But before we get into how RoleCatcher's AI can take your prep to the next level, I want to touch on some career insights from their guide.
Oh, yeah. Good idea.
It talks about the different places electronics drafters can work.
Like engineering firms,
Manufacturing companies,
research labs,
even government
it's
agencies.
in a wide range of options.
The guide also talks about how important it is to stay up to date with industry trends,
Absolutely. You gotta keep learning.
and it outlines potential career paths.
You could move into management, specialize in a particular area, or even transition to a related role.
It's like a roadmap for your career.
Right.
Now let's talk about that secret weapon we mentioned, RoleCatcher's AI.
Right.
You said it can analyze job descriptions and tailor your answers.
Yeah. It's pretty cool.
How does that actually work?
You put the job description and the interview questions into the platform,
Okay.
and RoleCatcher's AI figures out what the employer is looking for.
And then what?
It creates custom responses for you that highlight your strengths and match their expectations.
Wow, so it's really personalized.
It is. It's like having a whole team of experts helping you prepare.
That's incredible. It sounds like a huge advantage.
It definitely is.
Okay, we've covered a lot today, from interview questions to career insights, and even the power of AI. You're going to be so prepared for that interview.
You got this.
But before we wrap up, there's one final thought I want to leave you with. With all this tech changing so fast, how do you think the role of an electronics drafter is going to change in the future?
Ooh, that's a good one to think about as you're starting your career.
Right, like will AI just take over completely?
Well, AI will definitely play a bigger role, for sure.
Yeah,
We'll probably see it doing more of those routine tasks, making things more efficient.
that makes sense.
But those human skills are still going to be super important.
Like what?
Creativity, problem solving, critical thinking, those are things AI can't really replace.
I see what you mean. And as projects get more and more complex, being able to collaborate effectively is going to be even more crucial.
Absolutely. So instead of worrying about being replaced, electronics drafters should look at these new technologies as opportunities.
Like that.
Opportunities.
Yeah. By learning new skills and staying up to date, you can make sure you have a place in the future of this field.
So it's all about adapting and evolving with the technology.
Exactly.
Well, I think we've covered just about everything we wanted to today.
We really went deep on those interview questions.
We talked about career paths.
And we even explored how RoleCatcher's AI can give you that extra edge. You're going to walk into that interview feeling so prepared.
Confident and ready to impress.
So remember, you've got this. Good luck out there, and we'll catch you in our next deep dive.